Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and in this video we're going to be talking about book 7 in the Kathryn Lasky's Guardians of Ga'Hoole series. Now obviously I don't have a physical copy in my hand. I mentioned this in a previous video. Unfortunately, when I went looking after I borrowed a bunch of physical copies from my library to see if I could request another physical copy of a book that they did not have, it does turn out that unfortunately these are one of the books that have fallen victim to, they're not printing them in physical form anymore, they're only in digital. So I think I ended up buying Hatchling just because I think I had to request it from my library, but I'm in the middle of reading the series, so I ended up buying it. So let's talk about this book 7. So this is a change. So in the previous 6 books, the main protagonist, the main character that we're focusing everything on, has been Soren, who's the barn owl. At the end of the previous book, they had a battle. Twilight killed his brother because he paused and he couldn't at first. By the time he resolved it, Twilight already killed his brother. So after he realized basically his brother had captured Digger, who was one of his friends. So, and then of course that book ends with his brother's very evil wife hatching her egg. And so now we have moved into Hatchling. So this book talks about that said Hatchling, whose name we have to bring up. I actually have a physical copy of Outcast, which is the following book. Figure out what his name is. Clud is the brother. So, and I'm going to mispronounce this. Norik is the name that this Hatchling was born as. And we kind of learn a little bit about him and how this other young owl was brought in to kind of befriend him. See if I can figure out that owl's name. Philip is what he refers to him as. So Nurik, this is point of view of him. He's essentially preparing to become an adult owl. He's been told all these stories about his evil uncle and the tree, which is completely forbidden to be talking about. But they call it, I think, the tree or something. They're living in the canyons, so that is the benefit of her putting maps in all these books. So basically it's near where they had the orphan school of owls, so there's no trees. And you get kind of how he's been brought up. He's now coming into an adulthood, and his mother and her band are trying to basically reform their army. And that is her goal. So she's out looking for rogue smiths and various different other basically owls for hire to help rebuild her army so she can again go after the tree. Because remember, his mother is crazy. She was the one who recruited her husband, who died in battle. So, and she had been kissing up to the previous leader and then used him to kill the original leader of these pure ones. So she's very much the leader. Now she's the leader of the band because both the males are gone. But she's been raising her son to basically take over. One problem. He's not evil at all. He has compassion. So she gets a hold of a rogue smith. And because they need to burn his father's body. So, again, owls grow quickly. Similar to Brian Jock's books, they don't prolong the lifespans of these owls into human lifespans. So owls live a decent long time. So, as opposed to Brian Jock and his rodents. So, I may cover the Redwall books at some point. But moving on. So, this is winter. So this is several, trying to think, because winter was just setting in when they had the last battle. So his owl chicks grow pretty quickly. So this has been several months. So he's becoming an adult. Again, they're still living in these canyons. But she goes and gets this rogue smith because they need fire in order to burn the body. And which somehow hasn't been, I'm guessing it's freezing, so somehow it hasn't been destroyed. Or they just need to burn the bones or something. But again, so they need to have a funeral for his father. So they get a rogue smith, and they get the flames together, and, well, the young hatchling, as they call him, sees things in the flames. So he can see things in fire, and he sees the truth. He sees his uncle hesitate before killing his father. He sees how the Pure Ones had lured the guardians into this cave with the intention of killing them. He sees Twilight, who he doesn't know his name, but he knows this is a different type of owl, kill his father. So he begins to realize, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Is what I'm seeing true? He sees his mother attack his aunt and try to kill her. So he sees these things. And he automatically, and he's told eventually, he interacts with this supposed rogue smith, who was actually sent there by Mist to essentially show him the flames, because she obviously sees things and knew that once he was able to see things in the fire, he would basically try to escape. So he takes Philip, he's his only friend, he's been kind of raised with, who is a barn owl, but he's a lesser barn owl, so he's been basically useless. But then all of a sudden, after Nurik mispronounces his name incessantly, luckily he changes it in the next book. Nyrok. Difficult to pronounce here. But again, he decides to get Philip and leave, because Philip's he's at the lower rungs. He's brought in to essentially be a nest mate to this young owl. So they escape, but they're being chased by his mother, obviously her mother's henchman, because she's not going to let go of her kid. As she spent all this time raising him, feeding him, tearing apart apparently her chest feathers to get down into their nest and keep him warm. You get some of the insight to when he first leaves, how much she hates it. And she hates being a mother, and she hates the fact that it's technically a 2-owl job and she has to do it by herself, and she's sick of feeding him and tearing herself apart just to take care of him, because she has to give incessantly for this child. And she hates it because, again, she's a selfish, evil owl. So he escapes with Philip, and Philip kind of starts telling him different things. He tells him his own story, how his father, he lost his mother, brothers, and sisters in this fire, how his father kind of went crazy and then was recruited, and then his father died in one of the first battles prior to what they call the final battle. Obviously not the final battle in this series. We have a good long way to go yet. But his father was killed when, I believe, they were rescuing Isabub. So he was kind of useless and abused, and he was just another mouth to feed because he was a young owl at the time. So, and wasn't really hunting. But he had been brought in to be a nest mate to Nurik. Or however, again, can't pronounce the names here. One of these days I need to look these up. But moving on. So they escape, and Philip tells him all sorts of things. He's like, I can't tell you everything because I don't know everything. I only know what I know from when I became aware of what the heck was going on. But eventually they're hiding and being chased, and he actually starts his first molting that he can remember. And of course Philip tells him to calm down. It's like, no, you're not losing your feathers permanently, you're molting. And they will grow back and you will be fine. And they will just grow back maybe better feathers. Eventually they try to escape, and they end up jumping into these. They're being tracked. His mother has brought in a rogue tracker from beyond, and brought him in. And then basically they jump into these cold winds, and they're turned around, and they both come out alive. And so Nurek wakes up with his mother, and she's like, yes, you're alive. You should have woken up a while ago. I'm irritated with you. But we have to go through this ceremony that he has to go through in order to become part of the Pure Ones. Well, okay. This is how evil they are. So we remember back into the past, his father's ceremony was to kill his brother. He just didn't realize kicking Soren out of the nest thinking it would kill him. He just didn't count on his brother being kidnapped instead. So basically what his mother does is they have Philip tied up, and they basically say, you have to kill him. And he says no. He's like, no, I'm not doing this. And Philip is telling him to fly. It's like, go. Get the heck out of here. He now realizes his entire purpose. He was brought in to be friends with this young owl, so eventually this young owl can kill him. That's the entire purpose of his existence, is he was literally given the best food and made to be friends with him in order to be a sacrifice. So he's telling him to fly. It's like, get the heck out of here. So he's hesitating. Young Prince is hesitating. His mother sends the other owls, her lieutenants, away and argues with her son, and he says, no, I refuse to do this. I am more than this. I have free will. I'm not doing this. She kills him. Not Norik. She kills the friend Philip. And with his dying breath right before she rips his heart out, no, I'm not joking. He literally said they rips his heart out. He pretty much keeps saying fly. And that's what he does. So, Young Prince flies away. He gets out. He gets out of the canyon. He hides in this dead tree. And he sleeps. And then he realizes, oh wait, I can eat bugs. So that's how he survives out this winter. And as he's molting, because again, his feathers need to grow back. In the meantime, he's also listening. There's other owl families around him. And he's listening to some of these tales and what's going on. And eventually time passes and he can fly again. He can fly well again, now that he's done molting. And these flying snakes come to him. And Mist has sent them. And they take him to Mist at the Eagle's Nest. And remember, her original name was Hortense. She showed up in the very first book. And she's pretty much, we need to teach you. You can stay here for a while. So he's there for about 90 days, where he's learning about different things. He's learning about the history of the owls. He's learning about the legends. They're teaching him several things. He knows he has to go to the beyond. He doesn't know why, but he knows that. He's seen this in the flames. There was a huge fire that he was able to see things in. So he knows what he has to do. He just doesn't know why. Now, Mist, I believe, knows why. So he goes into the beyond. I think that's all in this book, because it's hard. I read both of them. So I think am I skipping into both books? Let me look at Outcast here, because I read the other book last night. It's harder when I don't have a physical copy to reference. So, okay, so no, I'm skipping. So basically he escapes. That's essentially the end of this book. So he's surviving into winter, and that's where this ends. The venomous snakes come in the next book. So that is it. I'm obviously going to be covering Outcast next, which I have here, so that will be the next video next week. I will film these back to back. So, and we will get a lot more into this, and then we will finish out the series. This is, obviously, Outcast is, I don't know, look at this. This is obviously a very old copy. Outcast is book 8. So this goes into, this gives me up to book 12. I think there are obviously more books than that. I think there's 15 total. So that is the end of this review. If you like what you see, obviously, I'm hoping you have checked out the rest of the reviews for this series. Be sure to check out the rest of the books I have. By the time you guys see this, I'll have a good size library of fiction books. I have some book series. I have a lot of standalone. I have children's picture books. I have some nonfiction stuff. I have various older film reviews. We'll have some travel videos on here. And as my daughter gets older, we are a secular homeschooling family, so we will have some more educational stuff, possibly curriculum stuff on here as time goes on. So be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.